Don't you worry, folks. He is absolutely fine. Those puffs of red weren't blood at all, but merely the rubber bullets that she shot him with disintegrating on impact with his skin and bones. Right after plowing through a steel car door, which, yeah, that sure is. Wow. Okay, cool. Why not? It's anime. You think that's dumb? You should see how anime does golf. Now, what would be real dumb is if YouTube demonetized this video for violence in spite of that fact. Hence why I'm choosing to explain it now, right at the start, because clearly I was not diligent enough in my adherence to the community guidelines when I merely pixelated the entire screen whilst talking about certain kinds of scenes in my recent Hottest Trash video. So, since I obviously had no choice but to cold open on a cool gunshot montage just now, I just want to be extra thorough and make sure that any YouTube employees who might be watching are aware that no cartoon characters were harmed or in the making of this delicious, nutritious content.
So there were also rubber bullets in the machine gun?
Sure, totally. Are the YouTube employees gone yet? Look, Lycoris Recoil is not an anime that you watch because you want to think about stuff. That's not to say it won't give you stuff to think about. It's actually quite sharply written, with well-defined, dynamic characters, a well-built, nuanced world of espionage and intrigue, and a twisty-turny plot that twists around a few very interesting and well-explored core themes. But at the end of the day, all of that is always gonna come second to... and... The basic idea behind this show is as old as Reese's Cups. Take two things that are extremely fun and marketable and combine them into one thing that is hopefully even more extremely fun and marketable. But that's easier said than done. You can't just slather any old chocolate bar in any old peanut butter and call it a day. You need to find chocolate and peanut butter that taste good together and shape the chocolate to hold the peanut butter. Find a way to combine the disparate ingredients into a single, seamless whole. And when the narrative ingredients you're working with are as disparate as... and... you have really got your work cut out for you. So, if utterly defying the laws of physics and basic common sense to create armor-piercing non-lethals is what it takes to let a girl as impossibly sweet and wholesome as Chisato Nishikigi mow down anime goons like Keanu 10 minutes after re-downloading Pet Finder without fundamentally compromising her pure-hearted moe blobability, I say so be it. Not that I feel particularly brave for saying it. I imagine that after all the footage you've just been drooling at, pretty much everyone watching this video agrees with that sentiment, even those of you who aren't, by nature, anime or moe fans. Hell, even Hideo Kojima openly loves Lycoris Recoil, and he's a military hardware buff who famously points and laughs at otaku. Not to mention, he only watched it by accident while trying to stream the 2021 Paul Thomas Anderson film Lycoris Pizza. Lycoris Recoil is just one of those anime that you can't look away from once it has your attention. Its qualities simply speak for themselves as confidently and succinctly as a pistol's rapport. So, if nobody watching this actually needs me to tell them what makes this anime good, why am I even here? Simple. To explain what will make this show an all-time great. Lycoris Recoil kicks ass, takes names, also takes cutesy breaks for snacks and video games and wholesome, genuinely original for once underwear jokes, and makes every second of it look impossibly easy. But beneath its cute, carefree smile lies a cautious and calculating creative mind. Every apparently effortless step it takes as it dances around the potentially fatal contradictions of its cutesy killer premise is plotted and executed with pinpoint precision to keep you right where it wants you. on the exact edge of your seat. That said, as cool as all the stuff I've shown you has been so far, and as much as I would love to keep talking about guns and explosions, those of you who clicked on this video to find out what the hiffle this anime even is would probably like to know what it's actually, about. I mean, besides... and... So, here we go, right after this ad.
All right, girls, time for your next mission. Oh boy, I love shooting terrorists. Me too, but today I need you to kill a bloke over in Akiba. Nice and quiet, no witnesses.
But boss, I don't...
I know, Chisato. And normally I'd never ask this, but that son of a bitch snatched up the last pre-order for the Vampire Hunter D Elite exclusive statue from Figurama collectors. Now the only way to get one is by killing him and stealing his identity. Toy? You're seriously asking Chisato?
Hold up, Takina. I'll do it.
Nani?
This is more than just a toy, Takina. Figurama collectors make some of the most beautiful and sought-after anime collectibles in the entire world. Their limited run pre-orders always sell out in less than 24 hours. Some in less than one.
That's right, and this is one of their most special pieces yet. The first figure of its caliber depicting one of anime's most iconic and influential heroes, with a design approved by none other than Yoshitaka Amano himself. His signature is on each base. It comes with two die-cast metal longswords, plus swappable arm and face pieces to customize his pose. That does sound like a collectible worth killing for.
Now you get it. Oh, how I wish we could go back to September 3rd, 2022 at 11 p.m. JST and use the promo code
MBVHDFC
to get
$25
off while we order this figurine properly, but this really doesn't seem like the kind of anime with time travel in it, so we're just gonna have to do a murder. It's the only way.
A sad fate for our heroes indeed, but it's not too late for you. If you want the D, sign up to get notified at the link below today. In the nearish future, or possibly alternate present, Tokyo maintains its image as one of the cleanest and safest cities in the world, but only thanks to the tireless clandestine efforts of a secret order of orphan schoolgirl assassins known as Lycoris, who work round the clock at the behest of DA, Direct Attack, to root out and ruthlessly eliminate terrorists, weapon smugglers, hackers, murderers, malcontents, and anyone else who might threaten the precarious peace of the city and Japan at large. Takina Inoue is a rookie Lycoris agent whose dead-eye aim and decisive, ruthless efficiency mark her for a promising future with this agency. That is, until her career track is unceremoniously derailed by a series of improbably unfortunate coincidences and one objectively correct split-second combat decision with undeniably bad optics. After a routine raid on a weapon smuggling ring goes awry and one of her squad mates is captured, things already look pretty dire for Takina. But when some unexpected and technically unprecedented interference on DA's secure radio network cuts her squad off from command, their inexperienced field commander proves incapable of picking up the slack. And so, with her allies paralyzed, knowing that hesitation is death on the battlefield, Takina cuts through the crowd of criminals with a barrage of machine gun bullets, trusting in her own anime protag aim to spare her captured squad mate. And it even works! The girl is completely unharmed, even amid all that carnage. Takina's quick thinking undeniably saved her life. Looking back from the midway point of the series, it's remarkable how effectively and efficiently this scene establishes the defining features of Takina's fighting style. A near impossible feat of marksmanship executed with practiced perfection, despite being a spur-of-the-moment thing using whatever weapon happens to be handy. But of course, that's not at all the impression this scene is meant to give a first-time viewer. At the start, part when we in the audience don't really know enough about how Takina thinks and what she's capable of to understand that she absolutely meant to do that, she comes off like an extremely lucky psychopath, lashing out the second she's let off the leash with zero regard for any of her comrades' safety. An impression that Takina's own stone-faced, detached, and professional persona does very little to dissuade. So, of course, that's how her embarrassed squad leader is gonna see it, and emphasizing that reading of the events also happens to be a good way to cover her own underperforming ass, so Takina gets the boot from the entire organization for insubordination and reckless behavior. Lucky for her, though, DA isn't the only Lycoris game in town. Lyco is a low-key affiliate branch whose work at present is performed by one prodigious problem child all by herself, so Takina is sent over there to provide backup. And while she's not happy with the situation at all, she reasons that if she can distinguish herself as a big fish in this new small pond, then she'll be able to earn back her place at HQ in short order. But that proves easier said than done, because the other fish in that pond just happens to be the biggest fish there is. Chisato Nishikigi. Chisato, as you've already seen, is this universe's John Wick, the apex predator of the underworld, a genius savant in the art of violence whose cat-like reflexes, eagle eyes, and honey badger courage mark her out as an animal born to do one thing, and one thing only: bring a smile to the face of everyone lucky enough to cross her path. Just like K-Onu, unless they're unlucky enough to cross her, in which case... Also just like K-Onu, or at least like the guy he plays on TV. Well, except, of course, for the fact that most everyone who gets on Chisato's bad side lives to tell about it, on account of how she doesn't really have a bad side, just the one impossibly good one, which just so happens to also be impossibly good at dodging bullets, a talent which allows her to stroll right up to hostiles on the battlefield and disarm them using nothing but her charming smile, plus also some point-blank rubber bullets to their limbs, chest, and face. In fact, she has to get that close just to use the non-lethal bullets in the first place. They're that wildly inaccurate, which goes a long way towards saving the show from feeling like she's just cheesing her way through everything using the MGS tranq gun. That wouldn't do at all, as the show needs to put pressure on her to impress upon us in every last action scene that Chisato is the most badass human being to ever walk this earth. No matter the odds, no matter what kind of hardware or manpower is stacked up against her, she will overcome with sheer force of skill. And she'll do it without staining her own pure cinnamon roll soul with any more needless bloodshed. So she's really an action heroine in two traditions. Well, actually, the animators reference a lot of different action movies with her. Technically speaking, it might be more accurate to call this anime hot fuzz, but there are still two clear main traditions. That of John Wick, performing beautifully brutal dances of bullets and blood to the delight of our fight-or-flight instincts, but also that of Vash the Stampede, a gifted gunslinger who employs her immense skill for killing exclusively in the defense of life, even when doing so puts her own life at great risk, which, if you think about it, is just about the only way to meaningfully raise the bar for John Wick-styled action heroes above where the man himself has presently set it. I mean, Keanu's basically walking on the skill ceiling for his respective action hero playstyle, and anime always has to go bigger than Hollywood, or what's the point, right? So it just makes sense to go above that ceiling by attempting a pacifist run in a game that really wasn't built for it. It's either that or escalate the spectacle to the point of parody, a tactic that has worked for Goku's in the past and is currently working for John Wick's in manga form via the Shonen Jump hit Sakamoto Days, which, combined with this anime's success, will likely inspire a whole new wave of shooty blam wham blam action anime once it finally gets adapted. Then, a couple years after that, some American director will make a name for themselves by figuring out how to recreate all the coolest shots and stunts from Lycoris Recoil, Sakamoto Days, and all the anime that copied them, kickstarting a new trend in Hollywood action, which anime will then, once again, emulate and escalate in turn. Such is the cycle, and so has it ever been since Blade Runner begat Ghost in the Shell begat The Matrix. And you know, it's not just limited to action movies. Christopher Nolan and Darren Aronofsky both built their careers by basically straight up stealing scenes and one entire movie from Satoshi Kon, which in Nolan's case is kind of forgivable because he was just using Kon's inimitable visual imagination as the jumping off point for some extremely challenging feats of real-world cinematographic engineering, kind of like how the Wachowskis invented bullet time to make real life feel more like anime. But as for you, Darren, let's just say it doesn't take a genius to figure out how to hang a camera over a bathtub, you fucking hack! Sorry, I've had that one pent up in me for a while, and I could go on, but we've got more important things to talk about today. Namely, her. Also her. If Lycoris Recoil was nothing but an excuse for its creators to animate their OP/OC waifus in tribute to their favorite Hollywood action scenes, kind of like the Japanese equivalent of Rooster Teeth's Rowubia, I'd still probably watch the shit out of it, honestly. But luckily, there is so much more to Chisato and Takina than just their top-grade waifu designs, both as individuals and as an odd buddy cop couple. Many look at the moe anime market and assume that all you need to succeed in the space is some cute girls stapled to a novel gimmick. And certainly a talented enough artist can convince the waifu simps to choke down pretty much anything. But contrary to what the reductive English name for the genre might have you believe, no matter how cute your girls and the things they do are, they will be forgotten within a single season if that's all you have to offer. There are probably entire artificial islands in Tokyo Bay built on the character good remains of anime that failed to learn the lessons of K-On! A series whose memory and merchandise endures a decade on because it was able to make its audience really connect with its characters. Not just look at them and go, wow, so cute, but listen to them and understand why so cute. Takina and Chisato are extremely motivated and dynamic characters who certainly fit into appealing and marketable archetypes, kudere and Genki girl respectively, but like the best examples of those archetypes, their personalities feel like natural extensions of the lives they've lived, not a series of boxes on a marketing checklist. They're both orphans, raised from a young age to kill by a shady, covert paramilitary organization, which is obviously gonna fuck a kid up somewhat, and they each responded to that trauma in very different ways. Takina chose to submit to the system and excel within it to the best of her ability, pursuing acknowledgement and achievement in an environment where love isn't really an option. Chisato, meanwhile, having reached the top of the schoolgirl assassin food chain and found no solace there, chooses to rebel against her apparent destiny as a born genius murderer by fighting non-lethally, taking on community outreach work over combat jobs, and trying to live as a normal and happy teenager as often as possible when she's not, you know, shooting terrorists and stuff. Living for herself instead of for her work. And while initially these diametrically opposed perspectives lead Takina to look down on her new partner, well, it's impossible to deny Chisato's skills from the jump, and it only takes a few missions together, plus one triumphant team-up against Takina's old squad leader, who also happens to be Chisato's old partner, for Takina to start seeing the value in that positive outlook. A perspective shift that's emphasized through the action as Takina starts shooting to cripple rather than kill, through her character design as Chisato helps her develop more of a fashion sense, and and through the comedy, as her cool, detached outward persona gradually melts, and she starts showing increasingly genuine, warm reactions to her co-workers' antics. There's a real cozy found family vibe around the whole Lycoris cafe, with Mika serving as the worldly but kind-hearted father figure, Mizuki as the helpful, put-upon older sister, and eventually super genius hacker Kurumi taking on the bratty little sister position. In a confusing and violent world, the cafe feels like our heroine's one true place of refuge. Aside from in each other's arms, I mean. Chisato definitely copped a feel there. And I'm sure the show has no plans to use either of those feelings against us. Actually, if I might delve into, fan theory territory for a moment here, given Chisato's cheerful, dare I say, puppy-like disposition, and the way that she's helped to bring the otherwise cold and ruthless killer Takina out of her shell, well, they probably wouldn't kill off such a fun, cool, and marketable character in the first season of a series with this much sequel potential, and it would kind of go against a lot of the themes of pacifism that they've been establishing over the whole season. But if they did, as a catalyst for sending Takina on a John Wick style rampage of her own, that'd be neat, I think. Or at least a very memorable ending. And it's not like there isn't precedent for it. I mean, the whole point of episode 6's rock, paper, scissors B-plot is that Chisato's lightning-fast, seemingly magic reflexes are surmountable by an ordinary human with the right strategy, while the episode's A-plot, without spoiling things, also suggests that she's far from invincible and that her pacifistic approach to combat leaves her vulnerable in some ways. So it could happen. Probably won't. Probably all of that is just foreshadowing a combat situation where Chisato's in real bad danger, but then maybe some enemy whose life she spared earlier decides to return the favor, thus proving she was ultimately right to believe in people, or maybe Takina steps up and does something like that. But on the off chance she does get fridged, I want the I called it points. Honestly though, I don't really know where the show's gonna go from here at all, outside of a vague certainty that it's definitely gonna be stupid awesome. And if you watched my Birdie Wing video last season, you'll know how ecstatic I am to be saying that 2 seasons in a row. Though, in this show's case, I do think it's worth taking a second to explain that stupid awesome isn't necessarily the same thing as stupid. A stupid anime is one that ignores all non-comedic logic and mostly disregards narrative consistency in favor of doing whatever the heck it feels like, whenever the heck it feels like doing it. To be stupid awesome is also to disregard logic and narrative consistency, but only in very specific contexts, such as when an action scene or set piece would be totally way more awesomer that way. But outside of those scenarios, a stupid awesome show has no obligation to continue being stupid. This isn't to say one approach is better than the other. For certain genres of anime, being stupid all the time is the highest ideal an artist can aspire to. But thrillers like Lycoris Recoil quickly lose their edge if they can't maintain a consistent tone and sense of tension, and thriller tension in particular is born from the feeling that the protagonist is only seeing a tiny piece of a much larger big picture. That there's always at least one angle we're not seeing that could blindside us at any moment. And that's an impression that you can't really create without a lot of planning and foreshadowing. You know, smart anime shit. A key component of John Wick's inimitable and irresistible vibe is the complex, chaotic underworld that surrounds its hero. A web of independently powerful individuals and organizations, all playing games with each other and the world at large in pursuit of their own agendas. Lycoris Recoil's world is similarly labyrinthine. Conspiracies brew behind philanthropic fronts, hackers, terrorists, and assassins plot from the shadows, and the only organization keeping the peace, besides the Japanese police who don't know shit, does so by endangering children and constantly lying to the public, which, come to think of it, so do the police, but that's another thing. And even ignoring that, DA's mission is often compromised by messy internal politics and the individual ambitions of its agents. Thrillers thrive in these sorts of dark, dangerous, uncertain environments where any choice you make can have horrific and far-reaching unintended consequences if you're not careful. Unless you're John Wick, that is. John Wick is the consequences. And much of the joy in the films that bear his name comes from watching him stand tall amid that sea of chaos, with each wave of violence that comes at him, no matter how mighty it seems, breaking against him as he presses ever forward toward whatever son of a bitch was stupid enough to interrupt his retirement. Chisato has much the same effect on her world, but with the key distinction that she actually has something to lose, something to protect, and something to smile about sometimes, which is very un-Wick-like of her. She's a defender, not an avenger, the immovable object to Wick's unstoppable force. At the end of the day, she still ends up upending many carefully laid plans and challenging the violent status quo of the underworld, but she does so in order to preserve the status quo of the show's moe slice of civilian life side, which is a rather clever approach to facilitating this sort of brutal, consequence-heavy action in an episodic format as opposed to a movie where those consequences can immediately play out. To me, the most remarkable thing about this anime isn't just how well it manages to make both of the genres it's attempting work, but how well it gets them to work together. It would be so easy for the transition from light-hearted comedy to heavy action and back again to feel jarring, for the jokes and cutesy moments to detract from the tension, for the action to be little more than the thing the cute girls do instead of playing music or whatever. But Lycoris Recoil's creators, bento writer Asaura and director Shingo Adachi, clearly understand what makes each genre tick on a much deeper level than that, and they've used that knowledge to rearrange all that narrative clockwork into something new and beautiful that still completely works. Every piece still serving a purpose, even if it's a different one. We connect with these characters through the comedy, so we care more and the tension is higher whenever they're put in danger. And on the flip side, the jokes and low-stakes B-plots provide a different angle on the main story's more serious core themes and concepts, and even help us better understand some of the psychology behind the action. The end result is an effortlessly enjoyable action comedy that demands zero thought on the part of its audience, but rewards any offered handsomely. The sort of show that, assuming it sticks the landing, I expect otaku will be returning to and discovering new things to love about for many years to come. Hell, if it sticks the landing hard enough, it could well be an Anime of the Year contender, and I say that knowing full well how much chainsaw-shaped heat the competition is about to be packing. Lycoris Recoil is real good, you guys, and I've done my best to avoid revealing too many of the twists and turns it has lying in wait for you, so if you haven't already paused the video to go watch it, thanks for sticking with me to the end, but you're free to go do that now. I highly encourage it, even. Just don't forget to head over to Figurama Collectors and sign up to get notified when pre-orders go live first, so you don't miss out on that D that I know you're craving. Oh, and if you feel like listening to me some more instead, HBO Max has recently been doing the most evil shit I've ever seen any streaming platform do, and I just dropped a rant about that over on Basement Life. I'm Geoff Thew, international man of anime, signing out from my, underground lair.